I'm Zachariah Bogart, and welcome to Let's Talk Sedalia, a 1-hour program dedicated to bringing you news about Smith-Cotton and key issues shaping Sedalia, Missouri. Each week, we welcome new guests to discuss topics that matter to our community. Let's Talk Sedalia is hosted by Ron Tollner, John Meehan, and myself. Now let's kick off things with the Smith-Cotton News segment, hosted by me. Welcome to Let's Talk Sedalia. This is the Smith-Cotton News section. I'm your host, Zach, and I'm joined with 3 JROTC drill members, and they're going to talk about the JROTC drill meet coming up. I'm going to have them go around, introduce themselves, and the role they play on in JROTC and on drill.
Hi, I'm Cadet Austin Fiorino. I'm the Command Sergeant Major for the Tiger Battalion, and in the drill team, I am the overall unarmed team commander.
Hi, I am Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Mason Cruz. I am the Deputy Commanding Officer for the battalion, and on the drill team, I am the overall armed team commander.
Hello, I'm Cadet Captain Matias Fernandez. In the battalion, I'm the Alpha Company Commander, and in drill, I am the Armed Team Inspection Commander.
All right, and so there is a drill meet coming up. Can you guys tell me a little bit about what the drill meet is?
Yeah, so the drill meet that's coming up, it is on February 15th, and our competitions start about 8 o'clock, and this year we are the national qualifier, so we have about double the schools coming, so we won't end our meet until like 5 o'clock-ish. Schools from all over. We have a school from Chicago coming. We have schools from Kansas coming. Schools from all over Missouri coming as well.
And can you talk a little bit about what goes into hosting a drill meet?
So typically, we start right as the semester begins, and even before that, too. It usually takes 2 months to plan, and then we have our entire corps come in. We have our entire staff come to set up the day prior, and then we work at it all day.
And can you tell me the roles everybody plays inside running the drill meet?
Yeah, so basically, we have a group of people that set it up, which is usually the JRTC staff. And then after that, we pick and choose people to run the specific events, and those people will be in charge of making sure that the event runs smoothly and the judges know the rules and the people coming in know the rules. And the adults mostly play mediation a lot of times between the judges and the kids and the instructors from the other schools, because a lot of times they have questions or they're confused about certain rules. And then we have kids from the battalion that don't have a role in everything. They just come to help out, and they help clean up and run trash and direct traffic and stuff like that.
And do you guys participate in the drill meet?
We do not participate in the drill meet. We just host it.
All right. And can you talk a little bit about the fundraising that goes into the drill meet?
So our primary fundraiser at the drill meet is our silent auction. Fundraising before that, sometimes we do a 30 pop or LTAP nights or windy nights. But it's usually the silent auction, which takes place the day of the drill meet.
And can you tell us a little bit about the items that are in the silent auction?
Okay, so our battalion staff, they went out and they asked a number of businesses to donate certain items, and we got back things like a cooler, a rug, scented candles from different businesses. We got certificates, money donations, so just about anything from a lot of businesses, from locally and outside of Sedalia.
And who can come and watch this event?
Absolutely everyone can come and watch, and then it's completely free. The only thing that would cost money is if you wanted food from our concessions or wanted to bid on an item.
And who runs the concessions? Is it also you guys?
It is us. There are a few cadets in there, but it's primarily parents that volunteer to run the concessions.
All right. Just want to thank you guys for coming to promote the JROTC drill meet. And once again, can you say the date and the time and when to show up?
It is February 15th, 2025. And events will start about 8, so try to get there around that time if you want to see all of them. But you can stay and leave whenever you want, as long as you don't stay, like after the award ceremony. But the award ceremony should be about 5:30.
All right. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you for joining us on Let's Talk Sedalia. I'm your host, Zach, and today I'm joined with some few people from Trio Upward Bound. You all go around and introduce yourself and what you do right now.
My name is Kendall Lane. I am a freshman at Mizzou, and I am studying clinical and diagnostic sciences.
I'm Brandon Hammond. I am a student success coach with Trio Student Support Services at State Fair Community College.
My name is Jada Martinez, and I'm a senior at Smith-Cotton and a current Upward Bound student.
All right, and I'm going to start with Brandon. You used to work as an academic advisor here at Smith-Cotton, and now you've transitioned to a Trio student support coach. Can you tell me what that transition was like, how you got to be an Upward Bound advisor, and what it's like right now?
Okay. So I was actually an Upward Bound student while I was in high school. And whenever I graduated from high school, I went to college at State Fair, joined their student support services program. And while I was in college, I needed a job during the summer. So I came back and worked as a resident assistant for Upward Bound. And when I graduated with my undergrad, I needed a job, and Upward Bound just happened to have one. So I fell into it. I wasn't planning on doing Trio for the rest of my life, but I fell in love with the program and what it stood for, and helping first generation low income students and the meaning behind it. And so really that's what it did. And so I fell in love with the program and, what it did for students. And 9.5 years, 10 years later, that's what it is. And so I just transitioned into the role of a student success coach with the college level program, Student Support Services, back in September. And it's a whole nother ballgame. It's very different from Upward Bound, which is the high school version. So yeah, that's my story. So yeah.
And Janet, you currently are an Upward Bound student. Can you tell me a little why you joined?
Yeah, so I think I heard about it second semester of freshman year, and at the end of the year when the counselors and the principals gather all the students for next year's classes and schedules, I believe Upward Bound came and gave a presentation, a brief one, and I was sitting next to a friend, and we're like, why not? Because we really enjoyed the college tours and the summer academic academy that you guys do. It was really interesting. So I had a friend next to me, and we're like, let's do it.
And Kendall, you were an Upward Bound student, and now you transitioned into the Trio SSS. Can you talk about why you started Upward Bound high school level and how the transition was to the college level?
Yeah, so I actually had a friend who was in Upward Bound at the time. She was always telling me about kind of what services they provided, and I thought that it might be helpful for me, like as I was getting closer to graduating. The transition was pretty smooth. Upward Bound really helped build that foundation, and then when I went to college, Trio just kind of picked up where they left off, and it's been really helpful with giving me all the support I need for being in college.
And Brandon, in your experience, how has Upward Bound affected kids' lives?
I mean, really, it just gives them the support they need. Coming from being first generation low income, they already have the deck stacked against them. I was a first generation low income student, and so I didn't have the support that I needed at home to go to college.
Mhm.
So I didn't have the financial, needs to get there. I didn't have the knowledge to understand how to fill out a FAFSA. I didn't know what the college admissions process was like. And without Upward Bound, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have my master's. I wouldn't, be almost finished with my doctorate. I wouldn't be where I am because I wouldn't know the process. And so, filling out those scholarship applications, it's all a daunting process, really, when
Yeah.
you think about it, and it's scary. It really
Yeah.
is. And so having that additional support service, because really when you're in a school and you have a graduating class of 300, 400, 500 people, your counselors are bogged down. And so, even though our program only serves 50 to 60 students, having that one-on-one individualized support really is an added benefit. And so whenever you are a first generation low income student, it's just that extra support. And then getting on a college campus,
Yeah.
being able to see what the difference is between a private and a public institution,
Mhm.
you know, a 2 year and a 4 year. Even the summer academy, you know, seeing whether you're there for a week or you're there for the 5 weeks
Mm-hmm.
and getting to go on the trips, seeing what life is like outside of Sedalia, Missouri.
Yeah.
You know, some students don't get to see that. And so broadening those horizons. I feel like Upward Bound is just, it opens doors for students.
Mm-hmm.
Trio opens doors for students, not just Upward Bound,
Yeah.
all the Trio programs,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because there is just more than Upward Bound. There's, you know, there's 8 Trio programs out there.
Mm.
So it's not just UB,
Yeah.
but, you know, all the Trio programs do that for students. So
And Kendall, what kind of support right now do you receive through Trio SSS, and how has it helped you stay on track?
So Trio SSS offers a lot of support. They offer academic coaching, financial coaching, workshops. The one that I have utilized the most is they offer one-on-one tutoring. So like in-person
Mhm.
one-on-one tutoring. And I definitely utilized that for my chem exam last semester. And it really helped me kind of sit down with someone and break down what I wasn't quite understanding. And I
Mhm.
think that helped me succeed in that. And it's going to help me succeed in the future with them.
And Janet, you're currently in Upward Bound here. What have you taken advantage of, and what's helped you grow as a student?
So I think just going to the college visits is really nice because I didn't realize how much going there and going to the actual college is a difference on whether you attend there or not.
Mhm.
I thought it was just a really small factor, but it for me it's a really big factor, and I really enjoy. And I try to sign up for all the college visits that we do that
Mhm.
they did. Um, but that's the one that I'm used most often, I would say.
And Brandon, can you
Mhm.
share a story through in your Upward Bound experience that's really stuck with you throughout your entire years?
I would say anytime, you know, I can't just pick one.
Yeah.
That'd be too hard.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to say anytime any of our students have walked across that stage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how long it takes them, you know, because life gets in the way.
True.
Life gets in the way.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime a student walks across that stage and gets that degree, you know, because that's our end game.
Yeah.
I do realize sometimes college isn't for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as long as you're happy with your life, that's all that matters. But our end game is for a student to get their 2 year or their 4 year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as long as you are happy, that's all that matters. But when a student walks across that stage and gets that diploma,
Yeah.
and if Upward Bound has played a small role in that,
Mm-hmm.
then I know that my job is done. And in December, I was at State Fair's graduation for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a student who graduated from our program in 2020,
Mm-hmm.
so COVID year.
Yeah.
And, you know, we didn't actually get to see her graduate.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I'm just standing there and she comes up to me and she's like, Brandon, she's like, I'm graduating with my associates. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I got tears in my eyes because she's married.
Mm-hmm.
She's getting ready to have a baby and she's graduating with her nursing degree finally. And it's like, okay, you know, Linda and I had just a small little role in that, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But yeah, once they get that degree, I don't care if it's a 2 year, 4 year, their master's, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, just knowing that Upward Bound had just a small little role in that.
Mm-hmm. What advice would you give to the current Upward Bound students about going to college and transitioning into college?
I'd say just get involved in whatever you can, do every opportunity they provide. For me, being able to go to the colleges was really helpful. I was able to kind of see if I wanted to go to a smaller school. I mean, obviously, I chose a much bigger school, but I'd say definitely just get involved in all you can and don't be afraid to reach out for help.
Mhm.
I remember when I first got my FAFSA offer, I was like, what am I looking at? So I remember I went to Brandon and I was like, what am I looking at? And
I know it's all a foreign language.
yeah, he really helped break down kind of like what each grant was and what everything meant. And so that was really helpful. So just do whatever you can. They're there to help. Use every tool, and it'll definitely help in the future.
Like I always tell every student, take advantage of the services that you are being
Right.
offered. Like, do not, it's free. It is
Yeah.
free. Take advantage of it.
Yeah.
So,
Janet, what are your plans after high school, and how has Upper Bound helped you with those?
So when we went to the UMKC college visit recently, I really fell in love with their campus, and I think I want to go there. I feel like I'm almost like 90% sure I want to go there, and not too sure what I want to major in, but I do
Mhm.
like the science. Like I like my science classes here at the high school. I think
Mhm.
I want to continue that in college, and yeah, so chemistry, biology, something in there.
Yeah. And one last question for you, Brandon. Um, what challenges do students typically face, and how have you personally helped them?
I think it all goes back to that first generation, that low income, barrier. Um, and I don't know if any of you all in this room have experienced this, but um, normally a lot of our students are, since they are the first in their family to go
Mhm.
to college, going away, they sometimes feel a little bit of guilt
Mhm.
about leaving their families. Sometimes they're the oldest, and so it's like they've got younger siblings. Sometimes they're coming from a single parent household, and so they're providing some sort of financial support,
Mhm.
some sort of emotional support to a single parent. And it's like sometimes as an advisor, we kind of have to help break it down to where it's like it's okay.
Mhm.
It's okay. Mom or dad will be okay. Your siblings will be okay. You have, it's your life. It will be fine.
Mhm.
Um you have to break the cycle. And if that's one thing that Trio helps with, is it helps break that cycle. It helps break that cycle of getting those first generation students out.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm happy to help with. So
I would like to thank each one of you for joining us today. This has been Let's Talk Sedalia, and thank you guys for watching.
Now, let's turn it over to Ron Toner and John Meehan as I bring you this week's guest program.
Welcome to another podcast episode of Let's Talk. I'm Ron Toller, one of your co-hosts of this program. Today, this program is coming to you from the audio and video studios of Smith-Cotton High School. In studio with me today is production engineer Zach Bogart. Zach is a senior at Smith-Cotton and a participant in the Queen City Center for Advanced Professional Studies. Now, I know that's a mouthful, folks. So just remember it as CAPS, C-A-P-S. Our guest today is Mr. Wade Norton, who is principal of Smith-Cotton High School. The purpose of Let's Talk is to keep you, the public, informed of news and happenings in Sedalia and the surrounding area. Hopefully, you will learn something about our community and the people who make this such a tremendous place to call home. Just a reminder that previous Let's Talk podcasts are available online and can be, excuse me, and can be accessed through any means that you use to access podcasts. Just do a search for Let's Talk Sedalia. So let's get started with today's session. So first of all, Wade, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I know we've got a number of things to go to discuss here regarding Smith-Cotton, its various programs. Just a bunch. But before we jump into those, maybe give our listeners kind of a recap of Wade Norton, how you got here, what you did before.
Well, I started out as an elementary school teacher at Skyline Elementary. Had great mentors there, and that led me to being moved to Heber Hunt Elementary as a school principal there, and spent 5 years at Heber Hunt and was able to learn a lot about our community and um, a lot of different areas of the community that I didn't have a chance to access through Skyline. Um, Took a chance when we took on service learning at Heber Hunt and told the superintendent if there was ever a chance to move to the junior high, I would love that opportunity. And little did I know that there was an opportunity, and so was transitioned to the junior high and spent 2 years there. And then the last 12 have been at Smith-Cotton High School.
And that brings us to today.
Yes.
I know as before we get into the details of a lot of things going on around here, I do want to at least have a brief discussion of the Smith-Cotton campus as we know it today, how it got here, how long it's been here, the things that you've done to add to it. I will tell you that I recall vividly when the effort started to get a new Smith-Cotton High School. It obviously took the community a few years to get that done. In fact, I was on one of the election efforts as well, as were many, many business and community-minded people. But it finally happened.
It did.
And it was almost like overnight, Wade, where I saw a change in this community. Not that it wasn't a great community to begin with, but it was just like pride just exuded out of this facility, and the community just was so accepting, so happy with it, and as of course as we found out since then, new businesses that come to town, new people that move here. This has got a big part of that happening.
I agree. It did take us a long time to get here, and this building is in its 16th year at 2010 Tiger Pride Boulevard. And I think you talked about pride, and I think that was such an important piece of naming our drive to kind of show that pride that we have back at the community. So in 16 years, I've been here 12 of those 16, and we have added on several times to the campus. We started out, we added on our track and football stadium here on campus, which allowed us to transition from the oldest high school football stadium to the newest with the building.
And it is state of the art as far as
Yes.
I'm concerned.
Yes. And then we brought over the freshmen. When this building was built, it was built for 10th through 12th grade. And so we finished the basement infill as a district project and brought the freshmen over. And then we added on a PLTW wing that housed our biomedical, our engineering, and our computer science wing for Project Lead the Way. And that also came with an auxiliary gym, which some people don't realize, but a gym is a classroom. And bringing over the freshmen, we needed to add that gym space to allow those students to take PE. And then the robotics rock building, their practice facility, was another addition we brought on to the campus. And our latest, which we are just about to finish up, is our finishing off the Jenny Jane's activity complex here, bringing tennis, boys and girls soccer, baseball, and softball to our campus. So,
and I think with that, there's another. Is there another practice field included in that?
Yes, we did. We added on a practice facility, which will allow our band, our marching band, to have their own space, so they don't have to worry about waiting till another practice gets done or working into the schedule. They have their own practice outside to prepare for their competitions.
So, very, very soon, very quickly from now, the campus for Smith-Cotton will be totally encompassed together at this area.
Yes, yeah. From the activities and athletics that we can hold on campus, we are just pretty close to being complete with that. We can't bring golf, and we've worked in a partnership with the Parks Department to have swim at the Hecker Community Center.
That's correct. I forgot about that too, and that also is a state of the art facility.
Yes.
And we probably need to give some kudos to Sue Heckert at this point. Obviously, she had a lot to do with bringing the Heckert Community Center to fruition. And as you said, and I understand, I do know that the school district contributed funds to that project in order to get the swimming lanes and so forth. And then, of course, on the north side of this main facility is the, gosh, give me the technical name.
The Heckert Performing Arts Center.
Right, which is, again, just a tremendous.
And her vision was very important from the get-go when this campus was envisioned, that she knew what she wanted to help bring Sedalia Symphony a home and to allow for our community to access that Performing Arts Center.
So I want to jump back just a second. When you were mentioning the additional gymnasium that was added, and there were 3 or 4 other program-related things that went into that facility. Can you elaborate on those just a second?
Project Lead the Way is a program that allows for 3 prongs. We have an engineering wing, a biomedical wing, and a computer science wing. And the Project Lead the Way has their own curriculum and programs in place, and we train our teachers to be able to teach within those areas.
Now, are those areas involved at all in the new CAPS program, or since they've been here, are they kind of a program of their own?
I would say they are a program of their own, but because of that program, that led us into the path of CAPS. And so they are more of the foundation now for CAPS to allow those students to exit out of the classroom and enter into a more real world environment through CAPS. So they work hand in hand.
The again, when we were talking about the expansion, and honestly, there was so much that you were telling me about. I don't know if we hit this one or not, but the concept of Team Scream and what they added to this facility. And I think I'm correct. And when I say didn't they get the funding for that themselves?
They did. They fundraised a large portion of that project to be able to add their practice facility on campus.
So, not even going to try to quote the number or the where the various revenue streams came from, but a number of these things you've been able to fund through normal operations, and likewise, since the levy was passed, however many years ago, 17 or whatever, for the new high school itself. I know you've gone back to the public a few times in conjunction with some of this out here, but the impression that I get is we are, the whole district, but especially here with the high school, we are really in good, solid shape for what you wanted to add and the other programs that you wanted to provide. Not saying there won't be more. Everybody has a wish list, but wow, this is something.
Yeah, and I would say that we need to also give kudos to Dr. Harriet Wolf.
Yes.
She was our financial superintendent, assistant superintendent that became our superintendent, and I believe her vision of ensuring this district was financially stable, and then training and working with Dr. Fraley, they have both done a great job of being able to set us up to be able to take care of our own needs up to a point. And then we had to go back to the public and we asked for a no tax increase this past 2 springs ago, I do believe. And that were we able to complete the activity complex as one of the projects.
I'm glad you brought Harriet up because I knew her well when she was, employed by the district and when she was superintendent and so forth. And a very exceptional lady, very sharp, very hardworking. She knew how to think outside the box, and she knew how to get things done.
She did. She wasn't afraid to say no, and that probably put us in a better financial setting. Administrators didn't like to hear that sometimes, but we appreciated her hard work and what she's done for us.
Absolutely. So let's roll into another area here for a little bit. Enrollment out here and how we stand. And I know you said earlier that when the original high school was built, of course, the basement at that point in time as I understand it, was to eventually become the freshman complex,
Yep.
which it did. But of course, it started out as rooms full of rocks
It did.
because it simply had a gravel foundation under it. But with the freshmen over here now for a few years as well, what are we looking at as far as our current school capacity? If you can think back to it, maybe where we started out, or go back some years and where it's come to now, and where you think it's going.
When I first came over here, we were sitting at about 1,200 students. Well, I take back 1,200 students when we went 9-12. We are now sitting at about 1,450 students, and I believe we have the capacity to reach close to 1,700 students within this building with not adding any additional building space. There would be some remodeling that could take place within the building to add a couple more classrooms that could help, but currently with our current setup and our current system with requirements of graduation, we could house 1,700 and some students.
So we've got a fair amount of capacity
Yes.
yet, but as we have learned in this town over the last couple decades, that can change fast.
It can.
Let's talk here a little bit. I'll say in a generality, because you're definitely not the oldest employee of the district, but you've been around a while, and you've been involved with students for years, the high school for a number of years. How do you see the difference in students from, say, when this facility opened to today?
I think it's easy to say that kids have changed, but really working daily with these students, I don't think they have. I think kids in general are the same they always have been. They have a desire to learn. They have a desire to become an adult. They have a desire to challenge the authority, to try to learn and who they are. I think the world has changed around the students, and they've had to evolve to meet those demands. We could go on forever about technology and what that's done to our students, what's that done to their system. But to be honest, I think if you look deep down at the students, they're the same they always have been.
Mm-hmm.
They want what's best for themselves. They want what's best for their friends. And I like that stayed that way with our students.
And you mentioned technology a little bit ago, and I might expand that comment out into two particular areas, and one being communication, and the second being socialization. And again, technology has had a huge impact on those two things.
Yep.
Do you feel like communication among students and faculty, administrators, assistants, you think communication is where it needs to be?
No, I think I think it needs to move in a fashion where students need to understand there are levels of communication. There's communication amongst friends. There's communication amongst friends on cell phones, and they have to learn that they have to adapt those into their different settings. And I think sometimes they've forgotten that. And a big push of ours is making sure that email communications, that students don't use texting words or phrases, and that they learn how to compose an email to get the questions that they want answered. And I do believe technology has caused them to not focus on the ability to be able to have a one-on-one conversation or a face-to-face conversation. That is something that students struggle with. And I think that the COVID event really put a light on that students struggle of looking in someone else's eyes or having that conversation. They want to delve into that phone or behind an email or behind a screen, because I think they're afraid of what might take place. And I think they need to learn that we all were afraid to have a one-on-one conversation. We were all afraid to look somebody in the eye, but it's important that they take those opportunities to fail or succeed while they're in high school or while they're learning and growing up.
It's interesting you should mention that because I've had some involvement with the new CAPS program here and have had dialogue with some of the students and just simply listening to some of the others. And I remember in particular one day where a couple of gentlemen, students, were talking about one of the key things that they had learned thus far in CAPS was the concept of networking and how to adjust their communication efforts as they should be if you're talking to a business person or someone for fun or what have you.
Yep.
And even the structuring of the emails they talked about. So you're getting through to some of them.
We hope so. And we think that it's as experiences. When we've spent the last several years talking to our students about what they want to get out of high school, because I think we forget sometimes they're an important voice, and sometimes their voice gets lost. So one thing that they've told us is they don't feel like they can fail. And we want to make sure that we structure in time to allow them to learn how to fail in a safe environment, because those are important keys, because failure will lead to success.
That's right. I mean, many times, and I'm sure you and I have both been down that road a few times, but it takes the failure to succeed.
Yep.
It doesn't just happen. It takes an effort. You mentioned the pandemic a little bit ago, and of course, now we're a few years off from that. With primarily, if I remember right, I think 2020 and 2021 were really the horrible times, and it had to have had a tremendous impact on education. Maybe not so much. Well, I'm sure it impacted all of them. I could probably make an argument that it impacted the younger ones more than the older students, but maybe not. And I know one of the things that came out of there, of course, was virtual learning. What are your thoughts on that whole process?
I think that it has opened, virtual learning has been able to open a door to some students who may have health issues, may struggle with some mental health concerns. It has allowed them an avenue to still continue their education in a way that allowed them to not have to look at what they're going to lose in their future. It allows them to still have that horizon open to them of what they want to do for their future. I think it is a scary system, because you get lost in that virtual world. And that's something that we want to make for sure that our students are successful, that our students are still connected to the building in some form or fashion. So we have put a personal face with our virtual platforms, that they have to connect with our virtual learning teacher. So it's not just all computer. They have to reach out if they have questions, and they have that personal contact still here at the building. I think that's been an important piece, because we don't want to have them get lost.
Well, I know for years, Sedalia 200 has had the Alternative Learning Center for primarily high school students, and of course, I'm talking about Whittier.
Yes.
But I'm thinking what you're talking about here is not necessarily those students working with virtual learning through Whittier.
Correct. They
It
work
is
they work
through
directly
Smith-Cotton.
through Smith-Cotton High School.
Okay.
They can work through two different platforms. One is called Launch. It is based out of the Springfield Public School System, and it is something that is available to any partner district in the state of Missouri. And they would take virtual classes that are connected with a real teacher that connects with those students. Or they can connect through our Edmentum platform, which is something that we do in-house. And that is something where they connect with a teacher here on campus.
So if you had to throw out an estimate a number of students going that route, what would that number be?
It is under 100 right now, but that is still a large number when you're looking at
Sure.
the number of students we serve.
Sure. And kind of continuing along this subject of students and the variety of students, Sedalia and Smith-Cotton have really become more and more a melting pot of different individuals, different nationalities. And I mean, it's always been that way to a degree, but I would think that it has changed significantly, let's say in the last 10 years. There's no magic to that number. But um, how many different nationalities do you feel like or know that are running through Smith-Cotton?
Right now, 12. We have 12 different nationalities that we are serving here at Smith-Cotton. That varies. It can goes anywhere between the last couple of years, anywhere between 10 to 14 different nationalities.
Now, when we talk about that nationality, I mean, are we talking about situations where the communication aspect is such that it actually requires English as a second language, or is that not necessarily the case for everybody?
It's not the case for everybody. Right now, our three largest groups that we serve for different nationalities would be Hispanic, Spanish, Russian, and Ukrainian. But all together, we're serving close to 10% of those in English language learners, as English is not their first language or they're not proficient in English.
Okay, now let me make sure I heard that right. Of those, say, those three nationalities, which are the three biggest that you're dealing with, of that total, whatever it is, about 10% of them
are English language learners. They're the ones that they need services to be able to adapt and learn English.
You know, that's actually less than I would have guessed. But I think that probably says a lot for the young people that are those nationalities, that they've come a long way themselves in the language and communication area.
It is, and that also varies. But we have a large population these past 3 years due to an influx from the Ukrainian war going on, that we've had a lot of refugees come over. So we have a lot of newcomers within that 10%. So that number might not sound large, but the impact has been very large here at Smith-Cotton because of that, the impact of the students coming in with basically zero English. That has been an impact on our EL population, our EL teachers.
I mean, I understand that. I have enough trouble with English myself.
Same.
So, I mean, really, that has to require a very concerted effort by you and the other personnel here at the high school.
We Miss Lackey is she has been our EL teacher here for several years. We have Mr. Romanowski, who is also here with her this first year here with us, and they have a big job. And I don't think people realize how big it is, because they are trying to teach them English while also trying to adapt and teach them the graduation requirements that come with all the subject materials, on top of trying to help and support our teachers within the building.
So what kind of background did those folks need to do this?
It is a degree. They have an English language learner degree.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So we may change over again subject-wise for a little bit. Obviously, learning core classes, those types of things are still around and will continue to be. But Smith-Cotton does just offer a tremendous number of, I'll call, non-academics, not extracurricular activities. And of course, I don't even know that some of them would actually be called that. For example, CAPS or Team Scream. I mean, they've got after-school components to it, but they also carry grades and points isn't the right word. I'm not sure what I'm looking for.
Co-curricular is what we call those.
Okay. Do you feel like you have, given your total students that are out there, do you feel like you have a heavy involvement once you take into account all of those things?
Unfortunately, no.
Really?
Right now, when you look at our extracurriculars and our activities that we look into, we probably have maybe a third of our students that participate in those activities. A lot of those students participate in multiple activities, which makes our numbers look larger. But we have a smaller group of students who do a lot. And our goal is to make sure that we try to find a way to incorporate all the students and what they're interested in. My goal would be to have a student participate in something before they graduate. and hopefully soon we'll make that a requirement. We don't know.
So when you say co-curricular,
Yep.
um, does Team Screen, CAPS, JROTC, are they included in that?
Yes. Well, Team Scream is not co-curricular. That is an extracurricular activity. Junior ROTC, they have a combination of activities and co-curricular pieces. Co-curricular is more in our performing arts areas with band, vocal music, instrumental music. Those pieces are more co-curricular. So it's more focused on extracurricular with smaller numbers than co-curricular.
You know, I remember, of course, JROTC has actually been here for a number of years now, and when that first came into the school district, I think Bill Nicely was a big party behind that when he was principal here. And I have to tell you, just to be honest, when word first came out to the public that was happening and was going to come about, I, like a lot of people, basically had let's say a doubt of how well it would do or how well it was needed. You got to keep in mind, though, when the days back when I was in school, you had the basic music, sports, what have you. And, you know, it was easy to have an opinion back then that, well, this isn't really needed. Wow, was I wrong? I mean, that has been such a tremendous program.
Yes.
And it reached a whole group of people that would have not been doing something otherwise.
You are 100% correct. That has been one of the biggest pieces that Junior ROTC has brought. It brought a home to several students that didn't have a home.
Right.
And it's a family.
Yeah. Yeah. And it has certainly taken on a life of its own. Now, granted, certainly want to give credit where credit's due for those things with the staff, the school staff involved in JROTC or in Team Scream, and now in CAPS. I mean, they bring a lot to the table.
The programs are important, but if you don't have the right staff members leading those programs, then that program will not go near as far or make as great of an impact. I mean, the leaders are amazing, and we are very lucky to have some, and lucky that those leaders have trained future generations of leaders and spread that wealth of not just keeping it for themselves.
Just a point for the listeners, we actually had a year and a half ago, a specific program on JROTC and another one on Team Scream. And I would recommend that if you did not have the opportunity to listen to those in the past, go back out into that catalog of podcasts for Let's Talk Sedalia. They were very good programs, and we had a lot of student involvement in those programs, and they were impressive.
Mm-hmm.
They were impressive. So when you look at today's staff associated with the high school, your professional staff, support staff, administrative staff, what kind of number are we talking about? It has to be a big employer.
Here at the high school, we're looking at close to 150 employees, and that is from support staff through administration within the building. So it is a large number to try to meet the needs of those 1,500 students.
So when you talk about staffing needs, and I'm sure you have, well, obviously you deal with it every year because you don't keep the same group forever. People move on or so forth. If you could throw a number out now of how many you feel like you could have a home for if you had those people.
Home within the programs or within
within the high school portion of the district. Hard question, I know.
It really is, because right now, luckily, I'm fully staffed. I have a few areas that I'm not. That some of that we've had to find others that maybe weren't certified to fill in positions, but I mean, I think that right now we have the staff that we need to meet the needs.
That's tremendous.
It's something that gets harder every single year.
Sure.
To try to make for sure that you have it. I mean, right now, we've been talking about a teacher shortage, but right now there's a shortage in every area, from cafeteria workers to our custodians to to our paraprofessionals within the building. It's harder and harder to find people that want to that want to work in these fields.
And of course, you're not alone. With the other organizations, businesses, and so forth. I mean, I think that's always the biggest concern I've ever heard for years is we need good people.
Yep. And luckily, I have good people. I'm blessed beyond belief with my staff here at Smith-Cotton.
Excellent. So let's switch gears a little bit here again. Communication levels, the transparency of what you're doing, and the communication that is required, not just with students, certainly with parents, hopefully, with the community as a whole. How would you rate that?
We look very hard at how we can communicate with our community. And when I say our community, that is involving students, our staff, our parents, the greater Sedalia community. We try to reach out in different ways. We focused a lot on social media. We focused on emails. We focused on trying to get them within the building to just have one-on-one conversations or small group conversations. We've really been working hard on our competency-based education approach that our teachers are working through to try to communicate with that to all parties to make sure they're aware as steps we take. It's not easy. We don't get a lot of feedback back from our communication. We don't have a lot of people that can come in to listen to our platform of what we're working on. So I would love to continue to grow in that area when it comes to communication, because we want to be transparent. We want to tell people what we're doing and why we're doing it. There is no perfect silver bullet to make sure that everyone can be happy, that everyone can learn the same way. And I think that's my goal, is to try to make our educational system as flexible as possible to meet the needs of all our students.
Well, and there's no doubt I have to sympathize with you on that subject. There's obviously, we kind of alluded to this a little earlier, but the concept of communication, student to student, student to parents, and parents to students, they carry their own level of problems, and they don't make your situation any easier.
It's just finding that right balance to make sure that you're trying every way. I mean, we will continue to grow. We will continue to listen. But yeah, it's not easy to make for sure that you're communicating, because you think you're doing it the right way, and then you find out maybe there was a better way to do it. We'll evolve and do that better way.
Mm-hmm.
We're not afraid to change.
As I was getting ready for this program and looking at Smith-Cotton's website, which, by the way, I think is a very good one. It's very well done. But one of the things under the communication area that was addressed there was a program that's referred to as Let's Stay Connected. Can you elaborate on just what all that involves?
Can you show me that piece?
Sure. Not a problem at all.
So there, again, talking about communications, we try to make things as streamlined as possible. And if you look at this page and Let's Stay Connected, there are a lot of different ways that you can connect with our building. But if every department and every group had their way, this would be a 16-page document.
Sure.
Because there are different channels that this team wants to let their team know about, and this group wants to let their parents know about. So this was just our way of trying to generalize this information to make for sure that if you want to connect during social media, or if you want to look at just the general information from the district, here's to make for sure that you are connected to get this information. And, none of this stuff is foolproof.
Sure.
And that's the important way that I would always suggest. Try to stay connected in several different ways. Yes, it might drive you crazy. You might get a few extra emails, but it is important that you stay connected in several different ways.
Well, I would just say to our listeners, if you go out on the website and you look at this, I mean, it's a one-page document, but it is tremendous, the different variations of communication that is discussed here.
I would say just a shout out to Mr. Satin and our communications director. He has worked hard with all of us in this district to try to focus on that communication and staying connected.
There you go. We talked earlier about other nationalities and English as a second language, and it just dawned on me another group unique from those, but still significant, are the students from military families.
Yes.
And of course, I think when you typically think of Whiteman Air Force Base up there, you think of primarily all the students from those families are more or less tied to Warrensburg or Knob Noster. And that's not the case.
No, it's not. We have a growing population of students, families from the Air Force Base that are relocating to Sedalia, and other. It's not just Air Force families; it's other military families that are located in Sedalia and are within our district. So we started and qualified to become a Purple Star school, and which allows what that tells the families is when they're relocated into communities, when they see that Purple Star designation, they know that our district is set up to meet the needs of those military families, to connect with those students, because a lot of times these families have moved several times in a short amount of time. And it kind of gives that family a sense of, okay, they understand where we're coming from. And it has allowed us to connect better with our military families and with our resources from Whiteman Air Force Base, which has been I think, just as good for those families. It's been good for us to recognize what those families go through when they do move to a new military base or to a new community.
Excellent. So, curriculum and programs that are provided by the high school. I mean, I know, again, you've got your basic requirements, but you've also got, I'll say some of them are electives, or some of them are just an entire trail of classes that you wouldn't call your basic ones. You obviously offer a lot of different educational roads to go down. And I would say that looking at curriculum, evaluating it, is probably a full-time job.
It is. We have a full-time person to oversee that within the district. Becky Brownfield is our secondary curriculum director, and she does an amazing job of evaluating our curriculum, of continuing to make us update that curriculum, and to always reflect on what it is and where it's going, and to also work with the teachers to allow them to dive into a new subject they might want to look into, or to allow us to continue to grow, because I think that's important. We can't stay stagnant because the world is not staying stagnant. So we have to grow with the world, and we have to grow with our students and what their interests are.
And again, that is changing constantly.
Oh, it is. And I think Sedalia we are a rural community, but we are an urban high school. We are we're one of the largest high schools in the state of Missouri. So my job is to make for sure that any student that goes to Smith-Cotton can come through and try to connect with anything they want to do. I don't want them to say that they can get a better educational outcome or better programs in Lee Summit or in a St. Louis suburb. I want all that here for our students, and that's something that I strive for.
And what kind of a grade would you give yourself?
I think we've done a pretty darn good job, and I don't know if I would give myself a grade, but I would give this building a grade. I would say we're looking right now at a B+. We're really hard approaching that A-, and I think to get to an A, one thing that I'm missing that our students have told me year after year is an ag program.
Yeah.
That is the one piece that I've not been able to incorporate, but we're working on it.
Well, and you mentioned that, which actually that was news to me. That was one I wasn't aware of. But you look at the ag program expansion out at SFCC, and that, as that comes together, could actually be something to help facilitate it
could,
here.
From a dual credit standpoint, it could. The ag classes that used to be connected with State Fair Community College, but a lot of our CTC cohort is all the other Pettis County schools. They have their own ag program, so it wasn't cohesive for State Fair to have an ag program there for the high school students. But we might be partnering with other smaller schools. So
now, would that be a situation where you would actually have the smaller communities, Hughesville, Smithton, Greenridge, whatever, where they would actually come here for part of their education?
For that, we would go to them.
Okay.
I think that would be more important because we can't feasibly supply a full-time ag teacher at Smith-Cotton, but they might have students that want to connect with, they might have students that have connected with junior ROTC or our project Lead the Way. So we could maybe play a little swapping
Well,
game.
and they may also have access to grants that
Yeah.
you would not.
Yeah. And those conversations have started. So
Yeah.
we're excited about that.
Very good. Hey, a couple other things that I want to hit before we break up today.
Okay.
One of the others is student safety and security.
Mm-hmm.
We had a program with Ashley Stark a few
Mhm.
weeks ago, who, of course, is the director of safety and security for the district. Very smart young lady.
Yes, she is.
I felt like has a tremendous rapport with all of the parts of safety and security and the other personnel that are involved throughout the district. But again, we're talking about Smith-Cotton today. So
Mhm.
how are those things addressed here?
Safety and security is our number one aspect. I mean, it rivals. When I say number one, we try to keep it all at the same level, but that is so important that that's something that it's always at the top of my mind, 24 hours a day. Unfortunately, my mind tries to not think about it, but you always have to think of the worst case scenario and what we can do to better prepare ourselves. And so that from training our staff, from working on an improved guided secure entry at the front of the building, safety and security is always something. And I think an important piece from our staff, and one of the important pieces that we've learned through professional development, is talking to students, keeping that ear open in the hallways, making sure we're watching even when they don't think we're watching, making sure we're not always in the same spots, but making sure they trust us to be able to tell us something and to be able to do it in a way that the students don't have to get involved in it, but they can inform us.
And you've got a couple officers on site. I think one tied to the sheriff's department.
Yes, we have a school resource officer. Todd Asbury is our resource officer. He is an amazing resource for this building for our students. And we also have a school security officer, Mr. Proctor, who is an alumni of Smith-Cotton, who came back and is our security officer here.
Well, and when I refer to safety and security, in addition to problems from the outside that you're trying to control, we've also got those very sad situations where we have problems on the inside.
Yep.
Psychological. I know over the years we've had a very few, but a few tragedies in that situation. Who is the primary person that would deal with those types of?
So we have, over the past, probably last 8 or 9 years, we have really worked hard to strengthen all that used to fall within our counseling wing. And that's a lot of, on top of a school counselor's job, is to make for sure that they meet the needs of their students to get to where they want to go, to be able to be prepared to meet those graduation requirements. On top of that, they also had to deal with the mental health aspect of their students, and that's a lot of pressure, and that's a lot when they're dealing with upwards of over 400 students per counselor. So we have partnered with Burrell Services here in Pettis County,
Right.
and they provide a clinician here in the building along with some support staff that work with students so they don't have to leave to get their counseling services. They can get them right here in the building.
Are they actually here all
They
the
are
time?
here. Yes, we have a clinician here
Wow.
with support services. And we also have a mental health specialist who splits his time. He's a district employee who splits his time between the junior high and high school. So if we have a student that is going through something or has a self-harm concern, he is our resource that we can call directly and get them in contact. And so he can evaluate that student and then get with the parents and families and get them help directly.
So I'm also guessing that when you've got situations of abusive students
Yes.
in the home or with other people, they fall under that as well.
They do. Well, that falls under, we have a full-time social worker here at Smith-Cotton, and our social worker works with the community, works with those resources, works with family services to make sure that if there are hotlines, she is the connection between them and family services. But she does way more than that. She's created a clothing closet for our students. She's created a food bank for our students, working with different organizations. So we've really tried to develop a plan to take care of the whole student while they're here in this building.
One other subject that I include in that area, and that is homelessness,
Yes.
because I know you deal with it. I know your students, you have students in that
Yep.
situation.
We homeless students fall under the McKinney-Vento Act. And so homeless is not just a student without a home. That could be a student that's living in a home that doesn't meet requirements, or it could be sub standard housing, or maybe doubled up with other family members. So right now, the last I remember looking, we were well over 150 students that met the McKinney-Vento
Okay.
requirement to be homeless. And so those fall under our social worker's wing, and she meets with those students to make sure that they have their needs met, from connecting with doctors, connecting with other resources in the community to make sure their needs are met here at school and when they leave.
Well, God bless those people because
Yes.
their hands are full.
Very full.
We're going to wrap this up here real quick. I think one thought I'd like to leave with our listeners is if you've ever caught yourself wondering or asking, what goes on out there? What happens at Smith-Cotton High School? Well, I hope today in our discussion, we have opened some eyes and people do gain a better understanding of everything that is involved in our school system and educating students
Yeah.
today.
And I would ask, contact us, come and see us, talk to us. I mean, we love to see the feedback on social media, positive or negative, but don't be afraid to pick up the phone and say, hey, what about this, or what's going on with that? We'd love to talk with you.
Great. One last area, and I'm throwing a curve at you here a little
Okay.
bit, but I know Smith-Cotton. I think didn't we just celebrate the centennial?
We are celebrating this entire school year. This will be the 100th graduating class of Smith-Cotton High School, from the building on Broadway to the building on Tiger Pride.
All right, that's excellent. We look forward to what's coming in conjunction with that. So, Mr. Norton,
Yes.
a question: if your crystal ball was working,
Yep.
If you were sitting down writing your goals for the district, what would be on that? What would be different going forward or additional?
I want to be able to, what the future is changing, and we have got to make sure we prepare our students for those changes. And I think Smith-Cotton is ahead of the curve preparing our students for those changes, but we have to continue to evolve. If the additions of virtual learning, the new technologies, AI, and all those pieces haven't taught us, our classrooms, those four walls have to change. And sometimes we even need to break those four walls down, like we're doing through CAPS. And I think those type of programs, my crystal ball says those programs are becoming more important, because I think that students need those opportunities to try out their future to make sure it works for them. And I think that's something that we can do here to, one, save them money in the future, two, to allow them to fail or to succeed and to evolve. And I think that's what my crystal ball says. And that's why we're going to continue going on down that path.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
Lots of information today, folks. And again, if you have additional questions that arise from this, reach out, contact the high school. I'm sure they will put you with someone that can provide you additional information that you are requesting. Thank you for being in today.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, my friend. I've learned a lot too. So, folks, that does it for Let's Talk today. We'll talk again with Let's Talk down the road.